Hello YouTube, this is the Bucket coming at you today with the Girsan Regard MC in 9mm. This beautiful firearm I picked up on a trade, and I wanted to bring this to you for a while now. If you think back in the past, I did a review on the Regard MC28 SA, and I love the company Gerson. I think they're a great company. Every firearm I've ever owned of theirs has been a quality firearm that has worked out really, really good for me. So this is kind of the flagship gun of Gerson. So let me give you a little bit of history about Gerson. Gerson came out and was founded in 1993, and they came out with this pistol in 1995. And the reason they designed this pistol was to replace the existing sidearm for the Turkish military. Now, Turkey has a long history of being associated with NATO, and one of the downsides of being associated with NATO is you have to volunteer some troops, which means all those troops have to be equipped with NATO-approved equipment, one of which being firearms. Now, you could design your own firearm, and then you could provide enough copies of that for NATO to test them, but what Turkey decided to do was, let's go ahead and quote-unquote reverse engineer an already accepted firearm. So they looked at the 92 FS, which is this is a direct copy of, and they reverse engineered it and changed just enough to get out of legal trouble with Beretta. Now, Beretta's not overly litigious. When they got the contract to replace the 1911, they created factories in Brazil, and those factories in Brazil, once they produced the amount of guns that they needed to, they sold the factory to Taurus and created a licensing agreement where Taurus could provide a copy of the Beretta 92, and in some ways actually made it better than the original 92. So Beretta, I have no records of Beretta ever suing Gerson. Apparently they changed just enough to make it worthwhile. And once Turkey adopted the Regard, this wonderful pistol here, they took it to NATO, and NATO, of course, approved it because they approved the M9, the M9A1. And so they started producing this for the Turkish military. And Gerson, knowing they had a good gun, started producing this for, corporate and private sales. Now, that was working out good, and they were selling enough firearms but people were talking about that these were well-made firearms. And so when Sarsamans decided to create their own importing company, EAA needed another Turkish company to start importing pistols. Now, EAA had, like I said, been importing Sarsamans, importing other companies, but most probably famously Tanfolio, and they decided that they wanted another Turkish company. They came to Gerson and said, hey, we want to bring in these Regards. And of course, Gerson was more than happy to break into the American market. And that's when these started coming into the States. Now, you'll see that this gun, if you don't know much about the Beretta 92, the barrel length on this gun is a 4.9 inch barrel. The overall length is 8.6 inches. The weight is 2 pounds, 0.15. Overall height 5.5 inches, and with a width of 1 3/8 inches. This is not designed to be a conceal and carry firearm. This is a duty firearm, and that is seen also in the 18 round plus 1 in the barrel capacity. This gun was designed to be a duty firearm, and you see guns that look just like this in classic films like Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and they're just workhorses. They were in the U.S. military for a long time until they were replaced by the SIG just recently, and they're good firearms. They're hefty, they fill the hand, and they actually are a little bit different. So John Moses Browning created the tilting barrel system, and that locked the barrel and the chamber in place until enough time that enough pressure could be released out at the end of the barrel before the chamber opened. And he did this with a tilting barrel. So the barrel would come back, hit a post, and then it would tilt up, allowing the spent cartridge to be kicked out. Beretta stole the idea from Mauser and their P38 design, and they did it a little bit differently. So I'm going to show you how that locking system works. I'll show you some of the differences that you get with this firearm opposed to the Beretta 92, and we'll go from there. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is disassemble this firearm. So obviously I've got no magazine in it. I've checked multiple times. And then there's a little button back here. You push it in and you drop the lever. And there's a famous scene in Lethal Weapon 3 where Jet Li disassembles Riggs's cherished Beretta in one fell swoop. There's a funny video with Ian in Forgotten Weapons showing whether or not those actually work. So you can actually check that if you want to. Now, when you get the slide off, you do have a metal guide rod, non-captive recoil spring, and then you can remove the barrel just very similarly to, most all modern semi-automatic pistols. You will see that the Gerson does have drift adjustable rear sights, but does not have a drift adjustable front sight, and the sight is built integral into the slide, which goes across over the barrel. So that is how both the 92 and the Girsan work. Now, the locking mechanism is kind of unique with this particular firearm. So this has what they call a falling block. So when the gun and the barrel is mounted into the gun, it will, when you drop the hammer, it ignites the primer, bullets going out the end of the barrel. Newton's second law, equal and opposite forces, causes the barrel and slide to move back together. And as it slides back, it will go up until right here. And it's wanting to catch up right now. Oh, there we go. And that falling block will fall into place and lock into place, causing the slide to be able to continue to move back and the barrel to stay fixed, allowing the spent cartridge to be kicked out and to bring in a new cartridge. As the slide moves forward, because of the angle of the falling block, it just rides back up and goes back into place and gets ready for the next round, and rinse and repeat. So that's how this works, is with this falling block. Now, what ends up happening from time to time, or what the worry from a lot of people is that this falling block over time will wear out. Now, one of the neat things with the falling block is you could just remove it and replace this one piece if it gets damaged over time. Now, the way that Girsan got around with the with patents is they actually changed and beveled these wings, and I'll show you a picture of the original ones on the Beretta, which means that this piece and the barrel are proprietary. So you can't just throw a Beretta locking block into this particular firearm and have it run. So that is kind of the rub that purists and people that want to complain will say, well, you'll never be able to replace the falling block, and that's going to be a giant pain. And, I think that's somebody looking for a problem that really isn't there. The vast majority of people are never going to fire enough rounds to burn out one of these falling blocks. And if you love your Girsan that much, I guarantee you'll be able to find a falling block. I have read numerous articles that says other than this barrel and this falling block, every other part of this gun is interchangeable with a Beretta. I have not tested that out. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm actually thinking about buying a G conversion to see if I can change that safety into a decocker. Haven't decided yet. That is a fair amount of money for something that may not work, so I haven't decided. Reassembly is just the same thing in reverse. Just go ahead. You might need to jiggle this a little bit to make sure that that falling block does come down. With it not being a captive recoil spring, you do just need to make sure that you're guiding this in nice and smooth. And on camera, that's a whole lot of fun. And so it just comes right into that falling block. And I do like the fact that when you reassemble this, all you have to do is pull it back. This will lock back into place. Check for that it's working. Check that decocker, and then you go to the double action. So my first impressions of this gun. So You do have the falling block that's different. It does have finger grooves in the front and no other type of way to grip it. There is some basic Beretta style vertical grooves here, which is fine. I don't mind finger grooves. A lot of people will say that they do mind finger grooves. If you're one of those types of people, that's something to look at. It does come with G10 grips now. I think some of the really original ones did not come with G10 grips. I think G10 grips are okay. It does have a slightly different, it has more notches for your lights that you can mount onto it, which is nice. I think it does give a little bit more. Is that a big deal? Better than the 92? No. It's nice to have on there. I like this O light, so I always use it to test out to see if the rails work out good. You can actually get these with in the waistband holsters, so you could actually conceal and carry this puppy. That would be a big deal, although the vice president of EAA says this is his daily carry, so that's his bragging point about this pistol. These do take Beretta mags, which I do like, which means you can get +2 mag extensions, so you could get this up to 21 if you wanted to. I am going to take this out to the range. Some of these +2 extensions, they make it so they don't feed quite as reliably, so I'm looking forward to that. I will tell you that these are N.A.T.O magazines, which is awesome. That means you're getting quality magazines. Sometimes when you buy a cheaper pistol, the magazines become a problem. So I think that's a real selling point on this pistol. I will tell you that I have handled a few Berettas. I will tell you that this is when you run this slide, it is smooth. It is clean. I will tell you, whenever you get to that falling block, there's going to be a little bit of a hang up there, but that's on all of them. That's a design of the pistol. I do, they put these slide serrations with these safeties. They really are not needed. In the Gen 4s, they have slide serrations here. I just grab a hold of the front and I can do my press checks that way. I can do that safely from underneath or on top. I don't think the slide serrations are really necessary there. They started doing a thing where they are bringing it with clear magazines and then have a cutout in here so you can count your bullets from without dropping the mag, which to me is a little silly. Because if I have to release my grip to look and start counting this way, I don't think I'm saving that much more time opposed to with a good N.A.T.O magazine just dropping it and count. I mean, they have every witness hole on here. So, I mean, I guess it's a thing. It's not a selling point to me. I wouldn't turn down a gun except for if those Gen 4s don't have N.A.T.O. I'll be completely honest with you. I would much rather have no witness hole in the side panels and have N.A.T.O magazines. No questions whatsoever. I would take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I will tell you that there is a little bit of take up on the trigger. Then there's a good defined wall, good crisp break. As with all 92 pistols, there is some stacking. It is a long, hard trigger pull, which, the bucket isn't that great at double action trigger pulls. I've had some good lucks with 92s, and the UGD, he does know how to put some UGD loving on the internals on this. He may teach me how to do that, and I may be able to get this trigger to be a little bit better. For the price point, you're going to save a couple $100 to get a Girsan opposed to a Beretta. And I'll tell you from my feelings of this pistol and how smooth it feels and how tight it is and how clean it is, I'm not going to lie to you. I think if I had an option between buying a new one of these or a new Beretta, I'd probably buy a Gerson, just from my first impressions. Now, I will be taking this out to the Goat Whisperers Ranch. We will be getting some shots out downrange, so keep an eye out for that range review that will be coming up in a few days. And I want to thank all of the people that are supporting The Bucket Shall Not Be Infringed. I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy the time that I get with you guys. All the likes are appreciated. All the comments are really appreciated. Any share that you want to give out is great. And remember, as always, you stay classy, YouTube.
I learned a lesson. Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.